Hello, Trail Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. We have Krystal Popov on the show today with futurepreneur.com. You can go to freekidbiz.com. That's freekidbiz.com to get the free business kit for kids. That's what we're talking about today, and we're going to touch on subjects mental health, not only for kids, but adults too. Hey, we're all kids. We were all kids at some point, and we're all still trying to grow up. I definitely don't feel like an adult, and I'm in my 40s. So I hope you understand what I mean when I say that, even though now we're fostering the next generation, right? Whether you're a parent or a guardian or you're a cousin or a godmother, the children in your life look up to all the adults to help them, to guide them. And we're discussing some really cool ways to support children to develop amazing life skills that will protect them from depression and anxiety. And when you look at one of the leading causes of death in our youth in this day and age, it's suicide. And that is terrifying that teenagers are facing such horrible mental health issues. Think about just the last 5 years and the COVID years. And now the kids that are going into university, that was some of their very formative years were tainted by being isolated and what that has now caused in terms of mental health. So my guest today, Krystal, shares with us what tools we can use and we can fit into our very busy lives that are going to help the children in your life to grow up to be resilient, to be strong, to be independent, to be critical thinkers. It's going to give them so many life skills. But here's the cool thing. You'll get them too, because by helping someone, by learning something and helping teach something and helping someone else do something, you get so much in return. I can't tell you how much I've learned just by helping my son as a homeschooler. So you're going to learn a lot from doing this too. So enjoy today's interview. You're listening now because it is 2026 or beyond. I know I have interviews I posted 10 years ago that people are still downloading and enjoying, and the content is still very relevant because we haven't changed very much as humans in the last 10 years. And especially with health, holistic health, Learn True Health is about mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and energetic health. And that's why this topic is relevant. As you step into this next year of your life, I want you to take a moment, as we all tend to do this time of year, we tend to do that self-reflection, but I'd like you to look at it through this lens. In the past, you may have beaten yourself up for failures, right? Oh, I set out this goal last January and I didn't get where I wanted to, or the diets I didn't work out, or the exercise routines I didn't work out, or the whatever program, the cleanse I went on, the parasite cleanse or the liver cleanse or whatever, all those things you may have set out to try, and then you would think maybe you failed, or you kind of quit halfway, or maybe you started jumping into a new routine and then an injury happened or life got busy, or you wanted to start watching less TV and reading more books, and you bought a bunch of books and then didn't even start reading them. These things happen, right? This is life. But here's the thing. We tend to beat ourselves up more. We tend to see negativity more than the positive. And I teach this in my course. My course is about to come out. Depending on when you're listening to this, it may already have come out. It's coming out very soon. And it's a course that teaches you how to turn off anxiety. And within 90 seconds, we can turn off any level of anxiety. And that's the first tool I teach. And then the rest of the tools in the course are designed to rewire the brain so it no longer creates anxiety in the first place. And one of the key aspects I teach is, why do we create anxiety in the first place? And part of the brain and its wiring is that it focuses and gives so much weight to the negative. So now that we're transitioning over into the next year, we tend to think about this last year that we had and emphasize the negatives. I was just at the grocery store getting some last minute things. I ran out of parchment paper and ran out of, a few last minute things to make our New Year's dinner. And I asked the the checker. His name's Ryan. I said, "Hey, Ryan, how's your day going?" He goes, "Oh, okay." And it's been really busy at the grocery store. So I know he's seen a few hundred people come through and a few hundred customers come through. And he goes, "Well, I've had a bad customer today. He was complaining about something, something." And as we were leaving the store, I said to my husband, it's interesting how this man has probably helped 100 people or more, right? So let's just say, for argument's sake, 100 people have come through his checker line and there was one bad customer. Now, that's 1%. 1% of his customers today were bad, were, difficult, right? And yet it's totally bummed this guy out. And he is a prime example. He's a prime example of us. He's not an isolated event, because you will go through your day and you'll have a million great things happen. You're not even aware of half of them because we're not focusing on all the good, right? And we're not really giving it weight. But that one bad thing that happens, and it's given so much weight that it's all we focus on. It really bummed us out, right? And so as we're transitioning into the next year, I want you to take the time and look at your last year to reflect on, to then gain the knowledge for the coming year. I want you to look at it this way. Instead of focusing on the 1, 2, 3 bad things that happened this year, oh, I set this goal out and it didn't happen, and considering them to be failures, I want you to take what you think are failures, instead of closed doors, which we tend to think failures are the end, right? Failures are the closed door, the final product, the end. And instead of looking at it that way, look at it this way. A failure is an opportunity. It's the beginning. It's a new beginning. Each failure you have emphasized in your mind from the last year, look at how it is a new beginning for you. Well, if it didn't work out, then what did you learn? If it didn't work out, what could you do differently? Was there aspects that you liked, aspects that you didn't? And, what can you do next time? And what do you really want? Like, learn from it. We should learn more from our failures than our successes. And that's why we can turn each negative into a big positive. Like that checker, I started asking him questions about, like, what did you do to make it better? And he's like, well, I just joked around with the guy. And I'm like, see, like, we can take that and go, hey, I am really great at handling these negative situations. I can turn it around. And then feel good about the rest of your day instead of, oh, I had one bad customer and life sucks. But this is what we do. So I want you to just take the time to think about, what are your New Year's resolutions, right? Because we all sort of think about, well, what do I want this next year? And, we get a little hopium. My husband calls it hopium. It's a little bit of optimism and hope. And it feels a bit like a little bit of mixed in with a little bit of nostalgia and a little bit of that dopamine, thinking about achieving something big next year. And it's easy to think about it because there's no resistance yet, because we're not starting to do it. I'm just thinking about building 25 pounds of muscle next year. But then how about get up at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning and go put on your shoes? You're going to be met with some resistance, right? And that's where the rubber hits the road. So take what you think are failures in the past, use them by looking at the positive, by looking at, how can this build me up? And what can I do this next year that turns most failures into opportunities that open new doors, new possibilities, new avenues? A lot of times I use weight loss as an example, because women can be on 20, 30 different diets and continue to what they consider fail over and over again. A really good book to listen to or read is Proteinaholic by Dr. Garth Davis. And in the first 2 chapters, I was just crying. Like, it was so cathartic, because he said, he explained scientifically, and also How Not to Diet is another really great audiobook to listen to by Dr. Michael Greger. I had him on the show. Both of them say pretty much the same thing. They're like, scientifically proven, most diets are failing you. but their marketing makes them seem infallible, and that if you fail, it's your fault. Like you don't have the willpower, you don't have, somehow you're broken or you're lazy, when in fact, most diets fail you because they're not successful. They're not successfully helping people, especially in the long term. That's not how the human body's meant to be. It's not how it works. That's why I love the book, How Not to Diet, because he goes through over, I think it's 5,000 studies showing you, like, let's just strip away all the marketing. Here's what's proven to work, what's proven not to work. And the whole book is not a diet. It's just showing you tip after tip after tip of things that work. So you can take 5, 10, 15 tips from that book and just scatter those new habits into your life and start seeing results slowly, steadily. And that's healthy, right? But when you have built up a belief system about yourself that you're broken because you tried this program, or maybe it was a thyroid reset program, or maybe it was an IBS gut health program, or an autoimmune program, right? And you went through it and you didn't get the results you thought you would. And then you feel like you failed. I got to tell you, it's that program failed you. Okay. You're not, your body is beautiful and brilliant, and it wants to heal itself, right? We just have to help it get on the right path. Mindset is everything when it comes to healing. Because if you believe you're broken and you can't heal, you won't ever take the steps that will help you to get to optimal health. And that's the same with children. If they don't even believe that they can, they'll never take the steps. That's why this interview today is so important. And I think it's a wonderful interview to finish 2025 with and to start 2026 with. I would love for you to take my anxiety course. A lot of people know they have anxiety, but there's also a lot of people that don't realize they have anxiety until I teach them the tool to turn off anxiety. And then for the first time in their life, the anxiety is at zero. And for the first time in their life, they have peace. I just want you to sit here for a moment and ask yourself, do you really feel peace on a day-to-day basis? Do you feel peace in your heart? Do you feel peace in your soul? Are you, in turmoil, in worry, in panic? Is there a low grade kind of worry? Are you constantly thinking about the other shoe that's going to drop or the next bad thing that's going to happen? You might be someone that has anxiety on a low grade level all the time. And that is your standard operating mode because you don't know how to be any other way. And I have a system that will free you from that. And it works with kids too. It works with teenagers. It works with any age as long as you can follow directions. I'd love for you to take my course. It will take your health, mental health, physical health, emotional health to the next level. It'll give you so much peace and mental clarity. It will help you with better sleep. You will wipe away that brain fog and just have amazing clarity of mind and focus because we are gaining back our state of resourcefulness. And this course that I'm launching is coming out very soon. It's called Anxiety Freedom, and I'm so excited to bring it to you. And if you'd like to be the first to join and jump in the course, then go to learntruehealth.com, scroll to the bottom, and get on my email list. Go to learntruehealth.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, plug your email in, and you get a few emails from me. And then when my course comes out, I'll be blasting everyone. Thank you so much for being an amazing listener of my podcast. Have an amazing New Year's. And I'm so excited with what 2026 brings. I've got some really exciting things that are coming up for the Learn True Health podcast. I'm looking forward to bringing it to you. So without any further ado, here is my interview with Krystal Popov. Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 563. I am so excited for today's guest. This is going to be a really fun and informative, very interesting interview. Sometimes interviews are heavy, sometimes they're light. This is on the lighter side. Krystal Popov, it's so good to have you here from futurepreneur.com and more importantly, freekidbiz.com, where you can get the free download for your kid.
Hi, Ashley. Yeah, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me on.
Now, when we say kid, because not everyone is listening has a kid or has a has a child that's of the right age, but everyone knows someone with a kid. So I think this could be, everyone's maybe an aunt or a grandma or a cousin, right? Or a best friend or a godmother. What are the ages that we should be listening for as we talk about and learn about supporting children to become successful entrepreneurs?
Really, children in the sweet spot of ages 7 through 14 is really our target for starting entrepreneurial skills. And you may think that's early, but this is when kids are the most creative and they haven't had that outside influence that happens kind of at the teenage years. So they don't have the
Hmm.
fear, and it's the perfect time to really build their little entrepreneur skills that'll serve them in anything they do in life.
Now, a listener might be thinking, Ashley, this is a health podcast. Why are we talking about entrepreneurial skills for kids?
Yeah, yeah.
So learn true health. For me, the philosophy has always been that every area of our life deserves health, right?
Mhm.
And that every area of your life affects your health. There you cannot separate. And this is what medical doctors like to do. Their philosophy of medicine is that we separate even body parts. Like you go to a specialist for the liver, a specialist for the heart, and we dissect ourselves into pieces, and that your physical health is somehow separate from your mental health. You go into a different building, you actually drive across town to see a different specialist for your mental health, for your emotional health, for your physical health, when it's all encased together. So
Mm,
our life is our health, right? And as a mom, as a homeschooling mom, helping my kid be the best he can be, helping the other kids that I'm involved. I'm a teacher at a co-op, helping all the kids that are in my life, be awesome. It actually feeds my soul, right?
yeah,
And so it is health in the sense of financial health, and to teach our children to pass on this information to have them help them be even more successful than us. That's our goal, right? Our goal as parents, as grandparents, as any kind of guardian of children, a steward of children, is to help them become even better than us, right? I see my son. He doesn't have that fear, that the jaded cynicism that comes with
mm,
being on this planet, and he wants to just run out and just start businesses. Just he's actually at a winter camp this week at our local um a community center. And we were just driving him this morning right before the interview. And he's like, "Hey, remember that business idea I had about this snack, this gluten-free vegan snack I want to make?" He's like, "Can we start that business?" And I'm thinking to myself, how in the world am I going to like figure out how to like
oh,
make this? Like, he has this really cool idea for a snack. And I'm like, I have no idea where to start, but he's like so driven and so excited about it. And I started like, trying to tell him about, well, there's food science and there's, factories and they like make food in a certain way in large quantities. And he just wants to get into the kitchen and start like
yeah,
mass producing a snack that he could sell on the street. Um, and so there's something about giving children the tools to
mhm,
then become successful and make money and learn how to do that. And you watch the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, they have a different way of looking at life. They have a way of like not letting those fears seep in, of being incredibly creative, thinking outside the box. And I want to nurture that and not shut that down, right? And then even is cathartic for us as adults to go, wow, how much do I limit myself? How much do I let my fears and my insecurities and my doubts control my ability to be creative? Right. And so
mhm,
watching children grow is a reflection for us to also heal and let go of the self imposed limitations that we've been shackled to for so long. So I think that this is more, your business is more than just helping kids to learn how to make money.
absolutely, Ashley. And I'm going to tell you the two reasons I started this business. Number one, I'm a mom of three kids, ages 9. Well, she'll be 10 next week, but 9 through 5, right? So I'm in a very young stage. However, a lot of my cousins have older kids. So I have two nieces. I call them nieces, but they're my cousin's kids, and they're in college right now. And I watched them go through COVID. I watch them now in college, and the number one thing that's hurting these kids, I just had a conversation with my cousin yesterday about this, is their mental health, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're growing up in a time where they're very tied to devices, where they can sit in their dorm room or in their apartment and just be stuck on this advice, and almost a fear of getting out and like meeting new people. I watch this with two different family members that are in college right now, and I'm like, we've got to do better. We've got to do better, because mental health is the number one thing that's hurting this generation that are in college at the moment. So what if I look back on my life? I went through this phase. I went through a phase, I wouldn't call it depression, but where I just wasn't loving life. And it was about my mid 20s. I'm in my 40s now. And what changed? Well, I truly love my life right now. I wouldn't change a thing. And when I look back, the biggest decision for me is I graduated with an engineering degree and went straight into corporate America. I was there for 7 years, but that's when I was not happy. When I got up and walked into a job that morning. Now, there may be some of you listening that love your job, and I'm not discounting great jobs out there. But for me, I needed autonomy in my life. I needed a creative outlet. I needed to be able to watch something that I made come to fruition. And that's what gives me happiness. And that's entrepreneurship for me, right? So, what do I want for my kids? For the kids that really have this entrepreneur drive. And Ashley, I'm so excited for your son. I'm really excited. This is where it starts. And this is the age where he has no fear. And he's like, let's go do this, mom, right? And parents, a lot of times, they'll say, I don't know where to start, right? Okay, this sounds like a big project that my kid wants to do, that now I need to take on, right? Because how old's your son, Ashley?
He's 10, he's almost 11.
Yeah, so this is an age where you're like, okay, my son wants to take this on, but so am I, right? I'm taking this on as well. So, because you're gonna be there with him. But it's beautiful. This is a great way to spend time with your kid and to bond with them. So at Futurepreneur, and this is a perfect example, what we've done is created business plans for kids. So we have one, Ashley, yours probably would go a little bit more towards our bakery business. But what it does is it teaches kids, I'm opening it right now, but as I step through it, talks about safety in the kitchen. It talks about creating your bakery concept. It even goes into branding and coloring and what type of packaging are you going to have. It obviously goes into budgeting, startup money, right? They're going to need money to start. So where do you get that? So we just, in little fun activities, they walk through making their first batch, testing it out, now taking pre-orders, right? So what can save a bakery some money? That's taking pre-orders and making the exact amount that you need to sell. So our bakery business plan walks them through each step. And for you as a homeschool mom, you probably are looking for ways to keep them busy. So as a mom who spends a lot of time with their kids, I turn this business plan into like 6 to 8 little activities. Like we have options for, like, if you want to jump and make your logo on Canva, let's do it. Let's talk about the different colors to creating a logo. Or if you're a grandma and you're like, I just have my granddaughter for the weekend and she wants to bake some cookies and sell them, you can do this in a weekend activity as well. So with throughout the business plan, we kind of have hints of like, you want to expand the learning in this area, do this little extra activity. So it's really fun. There's kind of two parents that could fit this model on how to do this. So that's what we do.
So like the weekend warrior with their kids, or breaking it up into a few weeks, or a project that then takes off. I love that
Yes.
idea of pre-orders. Like, you know, the kid could be calling up all of her friends and their parents, and if they have friends from after school activities, or friends in their classroom if they go to school, or families at church, calling them up and getting pre-orders. And I love that idea, as a business, because then, like you said, they know exactly how much they're making, and they
Hmm.
know how much they're how much money they would be making from those orders, and that they would also be learning those social skills, the sales skills, the ability to even though this is a warm market, right? It's people that
Yes.
they know, but that's the best way for them to start. Like just lo- not letting the fear of of socializing, of talking to people, of asking them for something stop them. And some kids are incredibly shy, and some kids, my kid's not. He was born an extrovert, but he
Mhm.
has friends that are shy. Our kid, man, he would go up, he just start whole conversations with strangers at 4. Like he just, and he's never lost that. So I know that he'd be totally fine going up and, like, almost like cold calling, going door to door in our neighborhood, like, asking for pre-orders for for his baked goods. I could see him doing
Yeah.
that. But other kids, um, that they're very shy, and so they would
Mhm.
need, the encouragement. So maybe just them starting out asking their grandparents, which is a very safe thing, or asking their aunt or their uncle for a pre-order, that would be safe. But that getting that yes from someone builds the confidence then to then go ask their teacher, to then go ask the teacher next door, to then go ask the neighbor next door, to then, and they're able to kind of expand out because they're building the yeses, and that's building their
Yes.
confidence. And then when they get a no, teaching them that, hey, no isn't rejection. Like everyone has free will, and so it's okay. Someone says no, maybe because they are gluten free, or maybe because they, you could ask them, why did you say no? And then that's feedback. Instead of feeling rejected, it's like that's you learning. Well, it maybe because they're on a diet, or maybe because they don't like chocolate, or like, oh, would you
Mhm.
want vanilla? Like, so take the no as feedback and ask, may I ask why you said no so I can learn? And then they
The
learn that no, asking for something and receiving a no is an opportunity for more learning.
Yes, and you parents, the number one feedback I get is, "Wow, my kid really surprised me." And parents that take on one of these
Mm,
challenges, it is you are gonna learn so much about your kid. And I'll tell you a story. My oldest, who's 9, almost 10, she is out of the 3 kids, she's the one that's she's got anxiety. In fact, I have her in a Montessori school because the anxiety in 3rd grade of sitting in a classroom with a bunch of desks all day, she was not intaking what the teacher was teaching. And I knew it wasn't because
mhm,
she wasn't couldn't handle the learning, right? I knew she wasn't listening. And what I realized is she was so worried looking around on what is everyone else doing. And she
mhm,
came to me one time and she's like, "Mom, I got a 78 on my math test." And I'm like, "That's okay, honey, right? It's okay. This was fractions or whatever." I said, "This was a tough one. No big deal." And it was probably like her worst grade in math, but she's like, "Yeah, but, blah 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 next to me, she got a 92, And I'm like, now she's comparing herself. And I see
mhm,
that first sign of self-doubt. Her confidence was by the end of 3rd grade, her confidence was in the floor, and I'm like, "We gotta make a
mhm,
change." And she's year this year, she's in a Montessori school, completely different girl. I'm telling you,
mhm.
180. She came up to me before Christmas, and there's probably 28 family members, and she said, "Mommy, I think we should say the Christmas story." I'm like, "You wanna stand up and do it?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know." And I could see that, like, fear in her eyes. She would have never done this a year ago. And she goes, "I think I do." And I'm like, "Okay, honey." And so I'm like, "I'll get everyone's attention and you can say the Christmas story," right? It's the story of Jesus. And so she got up in front of the room and did this. I go to her teacher at the Montessori school and she's like, she has so much confidence. And I'll tell you, when she did our t-shirt design business, she opened we have one of our businesses in a box is design and sell your first t-shirt, and we teach them how to upload a t-shirt design to a print on demand company. She would walk into a store, not even know someone, and start talking to them about the t-shirt she's wearing. It was this little summer fun with a fox eating an ice cream, right? She was so proud of her t-shirt.
Aw.
She made like $190 on this t-shirt design company because she talked to everyone. And this is my shy, kind of anxiety driven kid, right? At the time. And she was just so proud of her t-shirt. She talked to anyone about it. She goes, "Mom, mom, 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 you see the kid I was playing with on the playground? Will you give his mom the link to my t-shirt shop?" you know? She just was so proud of it. And that's what came out. I mean, that's what came out of a business is you really see what motivates your kid. So it's incredible.
I love that. Do you guys teach about the legal side of things? So I'm thinking like taxes, business license. if you're doing baked goods, there's some, areas where it's like, do you go into a commercial kitchen? Like, at what point does a kid do that versus just like sell to their friends and family, right? Do you get into any of that education?
So we do a little bit, like I'll just we have in our bakery one and in our pizzeria we talk a lot about food safety, clean baking practices, safety in the kitchen. So we do go into that a little bit, but we have a mentor. We call it a mentor guide, but it's for the parents on here's what you've got to pay attention to. I mean, I'll tell you, my biggest fear is someone running a lemonade stand and trying to open a lemonade on a busy street, right? So we are
Mm,
very, hey, stop, safety, check. I mean, I don't have control over once these business plans go out. But um well, and we're in phase one of Futurepreneur. We have an event in Tucson, Arizona, February 15th on a Sunday. That's an immersion of kid from 10:30 to 3:30. We're doing a whole day of entrepreneurship. We're bringing in gold medal Olympic athletes that have now turned their passion into a business. We're bringing in teacher, just people to inspire these kids into entrepreneurship. And so we have these businesses in a box. We have an event, but the next thing that we're launching, it'll probably be end of 2026, is actually an online platform where kids can go on. There's a few of these out there, but they're not going to do it like we're doing it. That has the building of the business integrated with a sales platform online. And one of the reasons we want to do that is because there's a kid out there that's going to design a T-shirt. It's going to take off, and all of a sudden they've made $15,000, right? And they're 13 years old. So if they're doing everything within our platform, we can flag that, hey, you've made $1,000. Get a hold of the parents. It's time to start an LLC. Here's our in-house lawyer that can help do it for you. So eventually we will go from that just a really fun activity in a box to they can open a full legit business online within our safe platform. So that's coming.
yeah. And
Right now the
that's proof of
yeah,
concept. So, like, for children,
exactly.
because people who've never done business before think, well, first you start an LLC or first you get the business license. It's like, no, 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 no,
Mm-mm.
no. First you prove the concept.
Yep.
Like, you've got to like start selling to friends and family, then start selling to the neighborhood, and then like you've got to prove the concept, get people, get enough customers to buy it, to
Yep.
say they
Make sure
like
it's
it,
profitable,
yeah, make sure it's
right?
profitable, make sure it's something
Yep.
you enjoy selling. So it's like your kid
Hmm.
sells, the lemonade stand or the T-shirt or baked goods or whatever, and then they're like a month later, they're like over it, and they're like, "I'm done. I'm on to the next thing." Like, thank God you didn't invest in in lawyers and all the stuff you
Yes.
need to do for that one business. But there comes a point, like you said, where if a kid is making, I think it's 6 uh for taxes. If you make over $600 in a calendar year, you're supposed to file but thinking bigger than that, you said LLC. Like, if you're making more than $60,000 in a year, that's when you want an LLC, plus you want the protection of an LLC. But you don't wanna start an
Hmm.
LLC until you have beta phased it, right? You have this
Hmm.
is so everything at the beginning is a learning experience, but also is like a beta phase. And of course, as parents or guardians, right? We are with the kid. So they're not running out, like you said, running out into a busy street selling lemonade. We're with the kid every step of the way, and we're learning too. And that's the thing that's exciting and scary about homeschooling, is that I'm not an expert. Like, I mean, we're 5th grade right now, so it's like 5th grade math I still remember, but there's gonna come a point where I'm like, "What?" I will forg I will be in territory like calculus. I'm like, "I don't remember this," right? Like, this was a long time ago. But that's the fun part, is that I learn alongside my kid,
Yeah.
and I have the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to research things, to be able to go, "Wait a second, let's just make sure we're doing it safely," right? So you
Mm,
don't have to know everything. Like, you don't have to be a good entrepreneur to support your child in experiencing their business, especially because we're using your kit, right, that guides you.
mm.
But if it becomes really big and really successful, like you get on Shark Tank, with your idea, like, I love watching it when kids bring their ideas to Shark Tank.
Me too.
It's so cool. This past Christmas, almost every gift my husband got me as I'm opening, he goes, "I saw this on Shark Tank." And I just thought, This was like the Shark Tank Christmas, because
Oh,
literally everything I got for Christmas was like on as seen on Shark Tank.
yeah,
Which
I
is so funny,
know.
I love it. But just think of all the kids that end up having really, like, they make a better mousetrap, right? They reinvent the wheel, and it
Yeah.
becomes incredibly successful, and it's bought by Mr. Wonderful. And that's your kid is it's possible your kid can do that. And even if it flops, a no or a quote unquote failure is amazing, is incredible. It's a gift. No, you can't buy that level of education to learn from a failure, right? It's not failure in that the sense that it's over. It's that, like Edison, in order to make the first commercially viable light bulb, he had to fail hundreds and hundreds of times till he figured out the right filament, and each one was just feedback of what works, what doesn't work. And so that's what this is. Safe between ages 7 and 14. This is the safest time for a kid to try things and not succeed, and then learn from it and try again, learn from it and try again. And you know what? The cool thing is, as an adult, if I started a business and I only made 20 bucks, I'd be really upset. But my kid, if he made 20 bucks, it's like he's high for a
Yes.
week. He's so excited. Like he thinks making 20 bucks is a success, right? So it's like these little wins build the confidence of the kids, and they can learn from the no's and the yeses, right? And
I
that's why I'm so
exactly.
excited about this.
And I was interviewed by a homeschool co-op in Tucson. I helped them with an entrepreneur unit for their first unit. It was the first 8 weeks of their homeschool co-op this past year. And so I went in every Wednesday and we did 3 hours of entrepreneur training. And at the end, they had a market, right? And we're building out that actually right now for co-ops, which is here's 6 to 8 weeks of activity, once a week, and this is how they build the business, and here's the outcome. So we're gonna we our feedback has been, especially from the homeschool community, is can you provide us some things, right? Because every
Mhm.
homeschool mom is a little bit of an entrepreneur within themselves, but they
Yeah.
may not know exactly how to teach um, budgeting versus financial planning. I have a parent that came to me. I get this too. A parent that came to me that says, "Hey, your sport coach business kit, which teaches kids, if they're really good at putting in golf, right, and they want to put on a little clinic, here's how you do it, or they're, a goalie in soccer and they want to teach their skills." So I had a parent come to me and she's like, "Can I buy this one for me?" She's like, I have a Pilates thing and I just can't figure out how to run my Pilates business." And I'm like, it would
Nah.
probably help you, right? So so it goes through all that. But this sweet age before they hit high school, we almost want them not diving in and making 10,000 on a t-shirt. It may happen, but we want them testing the waters in all different types of business. We want them to run a sport clinic. I mean, it might be a little workout class. It might be a yoga class. We want them to build a doghouse and sell it and understand trades and what that looks like, right? So we have about 12 different futurepreneur business in a box right now. But you want them testing out all different stuff and see what they shine. And each business teaches a different thing. So we have a open your own pizzeria that teaches them the difference between an employee and a business partner. Here's how you play it. You want to hire your sibling to come help you in your pizzeria because you're going to need help. Here's how you pay them. Or do you want to partner with your parent and split profits? That's called a business partner. So we teach them those little concepts, and every single business kind of teaches a different thing. So we have a dog walking that teaches them how to put together a professional agreement that between
Oh,
them
that's
and the
so great.
customer. And why it's important to hold your end of the agreement. Reputation is everything, and how to market that business. So, and we've gotten little pictures of there's a little boy named Luke, and I don't remember what state he lived in, but it was Luke's dog walking business, and he must have started around Halloween because he's like, "This isn't a trick, here's a treat." And in his business card that he dropped off at these houses, there was a little treat in there and his little sticker on the front. And so that's how he marketed his dog walking business. So it's so great to see what kids come up with. It's wonderful.
Oh, that
Um,
is so cool. I could totally see a 12-year-old being successful doing a dog walking business. Or
yeah.
cleaning. I mean, it's a little gross, but, like, being paid to clean up the poop in the yard, that's a business.
Hmm.
My our son's best friend he mows the lawn of all the neighbors, and he charges 50 he, like he takes, I mean, these are big yards, but backyard, front yard, but he charges $50 and does everything, like, trimming the bushes and the weed whacking and everything, and he loves it, and the neighbors love it because they don't have to do it, and he's making a killing, a kid.
Right?
So, it's just like, yeah, tell us about what are the other businesses?
Yeah, so we actually just finished. I don't even think it's on our website yet, but it's called Neighborhood Helper. So what is it your nephew, did you say, is doing that?
Oh, our son's best friend.
Okay, yeah. So we have one called Neighborhood Helper that teaches them how to market and some different ideas, even washing garbage bins. You could go around and say, "Hey, next Wednesday I'm washing garbage bins. If you want me to wash your bin out, you just pay me $10, right?" And this, a kid could make $100 in a weekend just washing out 10 bins. So we have a bunch of different ideas in there on what to do, and then how to structure your pay. So it just goes through little things like that. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have I'm sitting right in front of it. Yeah, we call that Neighborhood Helper. We have pizzeria, which I mentioned earlier. We have business like a builder. So we send a birdhouse kit with them, but they can also build a doghouse. So again, do you want this to be a weekend activity? And they build the birdhouse kit that we send them, paint it, personalize it, market it, sell it. We teach them how to do a marketing video on that one, where they say, um, here's my birdhouse, here's what it means to me, and here's how much it costs, here's why I'm raising money. So we teach them kind of to lead with the why in that one. And I'm probably
That's
spacing on a
smart.
few, but they're all on our website. And we have a manufacturing one. So my daughter did slime, my middle daughter, and she does manufactured slime. And we walked her through that process and then individually sold them for $5 each. So, and again, she didn't make a lot. She was 7, I believe, at the time, and she didn't make a lot, but she made like $30. And so she was really excited that she could take her $30 to Target and spend it how she wanted to spend it.
Do you
So,
have them pay back the initial investment? Like, because obviously the parent or the guardian is investing the
mhm.
money in the materials. That's the biggest thing because my son does an annual market and I buy all the materials and then he goes, "Do I have to pay you back?" Like, I'm like, "Yes, you have to pay back. That's how profit works. Like, you have to, pay for the materials, right?" And he's always nervous about that. He's like, "Well, but what if I don't make enough?" And, so then if he wants to take all the money and immediately spend it on the market, because he does like a marketplace with all the other kids. The
Yes.
second he sells something, he takes the money and he runs over to his friends and buys their stuff, which is so cute. But at the same time, it's like, you're not really learning if you're just, you're just taking all the money and spending it. That's bad
Yes.
practices for business. But he
Yes.
has so much fun, and then he will, because he's supporting his friends' businesses, and they have a blast. He made bath bombs this year, and last year he crafted wooden toys, and his bath bomb business was very successful. He sold over half his inventory, and he blew the money very quickly on
Oh,
everyone else's booths.
yes, yes.
But it was you're reminding me of the manufacturing of, like, we had to buy all the materials, and then he had to put them together,
Yeah.
and he invented the scents. I gave him all my essential oils, and he picked out all the scents, and he named them all because he wanted masculine. So he had, like, the Sasquatch and the lumberjack, like, the different bath bomb
Oh,
scents, and surprisingly, they sold really well considering they all smelled like men's cologne because it was, like,
yeah.
cedar and, like, very musky. But, yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll be walking through the house, and all of a sudden, I'll get a whiff of the scent, and I'm like, "Oh, he's taking a bath," because I can smell his bath bomb.
That's so
Um,
great.
yeah, so that
Ev
idea of building
Yeah.
things, on the kitchen table and then packaging them and selling them, that's
Every single one of our, and I think that's kind of what sets Futurepreneur apart. There is another company out there, and we get confused with them a lot, because our names are a little bit similar. But this company has business ideas, great, but they don't teach the kids the financial piece of it. And I think as a parent and as maybe a homeschool co-op leader, and we saw this with the co-op that I ran, is a lot of times parents spent $200 helping their kid get all of this inventory, all this set up, and then there's two mistakes they made. Number one, the teachers did not go through the financial planning in advance and did not go through the pricing structure. So in every single one of our business plans, and I just opened one up so I can read this to you, but it says budgeting and startup money. Every business needs a little money to get started. You can you can get a loan from your parents, and we go through what that is, right? We talk in kid language, but it has them go through the process or activity of what are all the ingredients, how much are these ingredients, what kind of packaging are you going to use? Are there tools and equipment that you need? Do you need to buy them, or do you already have them? And so it goes through an estimated cost before you even price your product. Now we've got to price our product. So yes, I think there's the two mistakes that parents make is, number one, they don't go through that financial activity in advance, and they end up losing a lot of money, so they can't do it again and again like kids want to. And
Mm-hmm.
then number two is, especially if they're doing markets, they don't teach marketing. They think they're going to go pop up a booth at this market and sell a bunch of bracelets, right? But if you don't actively market your booth beforehand, your results are going to, unless it's a really busy market, a lot of times kids don't have enough foot traffic. And
Mm-hmm.
so we teach kids those marketing skills. Do some videos. We do guerrilla marketing. Reach out to 20 people that you know and say, "Hey, Aunt Sophia, I'm having a market on Saturday. I'm so excited. I'm launching my first business. I'm selling pizza. Can you stop by?" Well, of course, Aunt Sophia is going to come by. She's going to bring her husband. She's going to bring her kids, maybe the neighbor, and she's going to come buy pizza because she loves her niece or nephew, right? So the marketing in advance and the budgeting are the things that parents miss, that I think kids really have a good, they have an, they really like doing it, and we're missing that ball. So, and they'll be even more successful, and then they'll want to do it again. It just spirals. But again, even if they're not successful, the skills that they'll build along the way are so important for their future. And we should get into mental health a little bit, but yes.
Oh yeah, what's the bridge to mental health from making pizza? I want to know.
Yeah. So there's two, and I mentioned this in the beginning, but there's a couple of reasons that I started this business. Number one, I want my kids to have the freedom that I have in life, right? Um, if they want it, they might choose to be a doctor, but if they want it, I want them to have that opportunity. Number two, purpose and activity will squash anxiety and depression most of the time. So, and there's lots of different reasons people are depressed, and I know there's clinical ways, but if you really dive into studying depression, typically the busier the people are, the less that comes out. So if someone has a lot of activity in their life, they're driving for results, they're active, they have the freedom to have this outlet they want to happen, that they want to have in their life. They're achieving something, and they become addicted to achievement. They become addicted to success, which is better than being addicted to other stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
they'll continue, and they'll put more and more time to it. And so when someone asked me, this co-op interviewer asked me, what's your superpower as an entrepreneur? And I thought about it, and the first thing I said was, I really don't have fear of failure. And I think it's because I opened 6 businesses in 6 years, and some of them failed. I only have 3 still going. The other 3 I shut down. And because they weren't profitable, or I wasn't having fun doing it. So what I learned from that process is you just got to go, 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 go. And if we can teach kids, put their energy, put their time into creating, into driving something, and then they become addicted to that outcome, or addicted to that success, or addicted to that result, so they'll continue to do it. When our kids become stagnant, then problems happen. Then then they're in the consumption phase, then they're watching YouTube, then they're watching TikTok. And when they're in the consumption phase and not the creative phase, then lots of things can creep into their mind. So we are protecting their mind by giving them an outlet. And some parents will do this with sports. They will just put them into competitive sports where they're busy every day of the week. And I'm an advocate for this actually. But if sports is your kid's thing, but if sports not your kid's thing, then what? Right? Then where can you put their attention to? And I'm hoping that Futurepreneur can fill that gap.
And, you know, parents get tired and it's so easy just to let the kid be on a device because they're quiet, right? And they're
Mhm.
not making a mess in the house if they're on an
Mhm.
iPad or on the TV or whatever, or on their, Xbox or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's nice and all, but we get in this trap where we're so busy, like day to day, like as adults, we're, keeping the household running and earning money and
Mhm.
maybe taking care of elderly parents or, grandparents or something. Like we are so busy. And it's like, especially if your kid goes to a brick and mortar school, you only really see them early in the morning, later in the evening, which
Mhm.
is like you're just busy at that, but you're just busy. You're not really seeing them, or you're not really connecting. You're
Mhm.
just, okay, it's time to go get up, brush your teeth, let's go. Like, okay, eat your breakfast. Okay, off to school, right? And
Mhm.
then at night, it's like, okay, I'm driving you here, driving you there, or whatever. And you're not really like sitting there eye to eye, like just being yourself, having peace in yourself, being fully
Mhm.
present to them, letting them just like talk about their day or whatever's going on. They're not connecting with you, you're not connecting with them, or doing something fun with them. So there's like a lot of mental health that kind of gets thrown out the window when all our kids do is see us be busy, and
Mhm.
then they don't really have time. We don't really have time for them. And then they end up on screens because it's easier for us. So my grandparents, all four of my grandparents, like died one after the other. And it was really weird. I was like between 7 and 9 years old, around there.
Mhm.
And every time a grandparent died, my parents would take me out of school for 2 weeks, I guess, because they were mourning. So they thought I should not be at school. I didn't really get that. And they sat me in front of the TV. And this is how
Mhm.
I learned how to handle emotions, numb them with a TV.
Wow.
My parents were doing the best they could. They're both entrepreneurs. They both independently ran their own, like started up and ran very successful businesses. And I watched them. I grew up kind of at the dinner table observing entrepreneurs like successful, and learning from their failures and like hearing about it. They were talking about business every day. But when it came to managing emotions, it was just put her in front of the TV or the Nintendo
Mhm.
or whatever. And so, like, with my kid, which when I'm super busy in life and it's like he's really in my face and I need to get stuff done, yeah, go on the iPad. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, what am I teaching my kid? Like, I get it. Yeah, it's like having him consume the iPad is makes my life easier, right? But
Mhm.
what is it doing in the long run? And I've seen the long-term damage it does. They become that consumer mentality. Like, do you remember that show Ryan's World where it was like unboxing video after unboxing video?
Oh,
And
yes.
unboxing became the new, like, that was the craze, right? And my son somehow found this, and it was like on our, YouTube on our TV, right? And this was years ago, right when Ryan's World just started. And it was and then that Christmas, he opened a present and then immediately discarded it to open the next one. I'm like, "Wait, wait, wait, hold on, like, look at it." He was just more about the experience of the unboxing and never played with the final product. It was just about the new, like, "Oh, I want this now that I have it. I don't need it anymore. I want the new thing. I want the next thing. I want the next thing." And I've seen that grow in him, and like, putting them on a screen increases that desire to just have what you don't have, but when you have it, you don't want it anymore because you want the next thing. You're on to the next thing. And you will never ever be happy, and like that leads to deep depression and chasing the next thing, the next thing. That's probably leads to drugs and alcohol because it's this deep empty pit inside you that can never be filled because it's the seeking what you don't have and
Dopamine hit.
wanting what you don't have. And there's no sense of purpose, of self, of fulfillment. There's it's an empty void that we're throwing kids into by letting the screen be the babysitter. Um, so, taking the time to do these projects with them. They your kids love what excites you. Like I shared with my son once, many years ago that when I was a teenager, I loved Sailor Moon. Like I'm not actively as an adult like seeking Sailor Moon, but it was just something that I really was into when I was a teenager. And my son at every opportunity gifts me some Sailor Moon thing, like because he's
Oh,
excited. He's excited about things that I'm excited about. So do you know like he doesn't love it, but he knows that I like it, right? And so this is what when you do so, when your kid does something with you, if you like if it sparks passion in you, your kid's going to get interested in it because they're like, "Whoa, you're interested in this too." So like, uh, on one hand, I can see like taking a kid to your website, futurepreneur.com or go to freekidbiz.com and go, "Hey, which business do you want to start?" But if that's too like overwhelming, you could be like, "You know what? I loved having a lemonade stand as a kid. Do you wanna run a lemonade stand with me?" And
yes.
if you're excited, then the kid's like, "Oh, my mom's really into this or my dad's really into this. I I'll do it because they're excited about it and my parents are trying to do something with me." Like, it's like, "Whoa." But the more you do this and then teach the kid to take it over, right? The they're gonna be having fun doing something on their own with obviously with your supervision, but it's they're not gonna run to the iPad. When they're gonna I mean, maybe they'll be running to research something, but, like, they're gonna be out there in the world doing something, and I've seen it both. I've seen both sides of it. I've had to do screen breaks where we take all the screens away in the house, and within 3 days, our son becomes a different person, and it's wild how much it affects his brain. Like, he becomes himself.
Yeah, do you notice that after 2 or 3 days of no iPad time, like, you just put it up in the closet and don't talk about it, all of a sudden they
Yep.
don't ask anymore for a long
Oh, yeah.
time. I call this breaking the dopamine cycle. So that what the iPads are doing, and the inventors of YouTube and the really good content creators, they're so aware of this that they know exactly what to give your kid at what age that keeps them addicted to that channel, right? Ryan was good at it.
Mm.
And so if you can give them a dopamine hit somewhere else, this is your job now. This is your job as a parent to say, and we teach this to the older one in our futurepreneur events. But if you're getting your excitement from watching something on TV versus creating something yourself, then your path in the future is consumption and people telling you what to do. Whereas if you can change and you can recognize, oh my gosh, I've been doom scrolling, right, for
Mhm.
an hour, how can I shift this and now do something that just as exciting or fun, but maybe outside active, and maybe riding my bike, it maybe creating something. And it only takes, parents, listen, it only takes about 8 hours a month. You go to your calendar, pick 4 hours one day, and in a week or two, the next weekend or the weekend after, 4 more hours. That's all our entrepreneur packets, our business plans for kids. That's all it takes. It's about 8 hours. So you do 4 hours one weekend, 4 hours the next weekend. You could do 4 and 4 if you want to do them, Saturday and Sunday. That's fine and get it over with in one weekend. It depends on how excited they are and how much time you have. But this is very small. You might be missing a football game one Sunday. It's a very small amount of time, and you're going to watch a change in your kid. A dad came to me recently and he said, I have an 11-year-old and I am having trouble bonding with that 11-year-old. I never had this problem because the dad was played football as a kid and very active in sports. Well, the son is now wants to be on the video games and has no interest in being in sports. He's like, I just don't know how to bond with my kid. And I'm like, 4 hours twice a month. A new business every month. You and him, go do it. And
Mm.
I mean, that's all you need. This is not a huge commitment for parents. This is a very small investment. Our kits, you can get the digital version for $15. This is nothing, and 8 hours a month. and it can change the outcome of your kid's life. And we're watching it. We're a fairly new company, but we are in feedback mode. We're talking to parents that are reordering. Why are you reordering? What inspired your kid? What did your kid like? Where did your kid get stuck? We're also seeing that kids get over the exciting part of like the initial, and then they stop and they don't want to finish. And so we have
Mhm.
a big, we just changed our mentor guide to have a big, um, a section in it to parents on, listen, following through and finishing something, completely finishing something, is a habit that you have to create. It's just like when you put your kid in a sport. I don't know about you, but when I put my kid into swim team, 2 weeks in, my kids were like, "Mom, take us out of swim team."
Yep.
And I'm like, we committed to this season. You don't have to do it
Yep.
next season, but we committed to this season and we're finishing the season out, right?
I
We don't
100% agree.
we don't
Yep.
quit. That's a
I
habit.
100%. I've had that happen with our son, and I'm like, "I won't force you to do it next season, but we sat down and I asked you
Mhm,
and you committed, you will
mhm.
finish what you started." And
Yep,
I 100% agree because, there's times when he doesn't wanna go to taekwondo. We do a lot of sports, taekwondo, we got the
right.
baseball, and there's a bunch. I don't know why I'm spacing on it right now, but there's a bunch. And he's just like, oh, and swim. He was on the swim team. And he loves, like you said, you love it for the first 2 weeks, and then you're tired. Life is hard, or
Mhm,
whatever, and or your friends wanted to go to the park with you. Or there's some other activity he wanted to do instead. It's like, no, you committed to this, and I told him, like, "I don't wanna teach you that with the second life gets hard, it's okay to have an out." Like, it's one thing, it's like, if you start a job and then you realize it wasn't what you signed up for and you really don't love it, yeah, of course, you don't have to stay there. But if but I what if you stayed for a few months and then, like, found what you loved about it, and, what if the heart, like, why are you choosing to quit? Is it just because 'cause you're tired today? Is it just because today you don't like it? Because you like it in general, right? Like, ask yourself, "Why do I wanna quit?" Right? Is it just because sometimes you're tired, like, kids get tired, like,
mhm,
it's like they're the Energizer Bunny, and then all of a sudden they're crashing, and it's like, "Well, did you go to sleep on time yesterday? Like, did you eat healthy? Like, what's going on?" It's usually because he f fought us on going to sleep on time or something, right?
mhm.
And so it's like, well, why are you tired? And what can we do to prevent that? But you can't just quit life because you're tired. Like, you can't have lazy ethics. Um, but at the same time, if you absolutely hate something, like, you don't have to do, soccer next year, but, like, finish the season out, right? Just
Yep,
your teammates are counting on you, finish the season out. And then they learn to persevere, to push through. They learn a bit of stoicism. And and also I do talk to about self-care because I feel like that's a really, like that you're walking a fine edged sword, because on one hand, like, are we ignoring our body? Are we pushing ourselves too hard? Like,
yeah,
you have to, so I ask him, like, are you really, like, are you so tired that you could go to bed without dinner? Like, what's going on? Right? Like, we're not ignoring the body. We still have to listen to them. But I definitely agree with you. We don't just quit just because they don't like it that one day. Um, you know, Thinking about intrinsic motivation versus extrinsic, and that's
mhm,
something that, thinking about depression, anxiety, when we're focused on external validation, which is what the school system trains us to have.
mhm.
We are constantly seeking, it's the grass is always greener. We're constantly like, well, when I get that raise, then I'll be happy. When I get that promotion, then I'll be happy. When I get my manager to give me kudos, then I'll be happy, right? We're looking for external validation, and we're constantly looking for things that are invalidating us. Like, oh, my boss didn't smile at me. I must not be doing a good job, but I must not like me, or, whatever. We're going to constantly find what we're looking for. So the reticular activating system in the brain is going to seek out what we're focusing on. So if you're externally motivated, then you're going to be left constantly feeling inadequate. But if you're intrinsically motivated, then it's your excitement, your passion, your desire to achieve something, to have that success, to persevere. Um,
Mhm.
that is, I mean, that is so fulfilling. You're not lifted up by kudos of others. You're lifted up by your own. accomplishments, right? And whatever, for me, it's like when I hear from the listeners, I get emails saying like, my migraines are gone. I learned how to do this, and now my gut health is better, and I don't have diarrhea anymore. Like, I hear these like life changing stories, right? And it's like, yeah, awesome, like that. I'm hearing that my podcast is making a difference. Like, that is in some way external, but that for me, that's my internal motivation. Is I know I'm helping people, and
Yes.
I can go months without hearing from someone. I don't stop the podcast because I haven't heard from people, right? It's like, I don't have to have that. I know I'm helping people through the work that I do.
Mhm.
Um and so it's like that internal passion, that internal like your goal. What is your goal? What excites you? What gets you out of bed? What makes you want to like conquer the world, right? So teaching kids that there's two motivations in life, and are you going to focus on a validation from others, external, or are you going to foster a desire um to create something in life that's amazing,
Yeah.
that's beautiful, because it fulfills you, right?
Yeah, and Ashley, I don't think, people telling you that they're getting a lot out of your podcast, that's not validation from an external source, exactly what you're saying. That's something proving that that's feeding your passion, right?
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
like is getting validation from an outside source, you're exactly right on the two motivators. Do I care what people think, or am I doing what my passion is and I'm doing it to affect people, and then I'm watching that effect, right? So
Mhm.
I'm trying to remember. So you talked about persistence and grit, and I've been reading a lot about this. I had breakfast with Dr. David Lehman recently, and he was talking about there's this age in middle school where they have to learn like stick to itness, and I call it grit, right? And he said that's getting harder and harder. And I think it was like a Dr. Gloria. Oh my gosh, I'm spacing on the last name, but um, there's research done talking about attention span. And back in like 2004, 2005, that attention span for middle schoolers was about 2.5 minutes, right? So you had about 2.5 minutes to like get them excited about it. Now it's under 40 seconds. So
Mm.
this is our issue now. This is our issue is that's a big difference between 2.5 minutes of getting them locked into something where they actually want to listen versus a 40 seconds and then they're out. And so this is what we're up against right now is the decrease in attention span, the consumption versus creating. And those two things can be changed, but it's our job as parents to do this. So every day, I say 8 hours a month. 8 hours a month can change your kid's life. You just have to be committed to it. You really do.
I love it.
So,
It's not a massive thing. And once
no,
the kids are in it, um, they're gonna wanna do it longer than that. They're gonna wanna, like, setting your kid up on Canva to design a shirt, they could be doing that for 2 hours, and that's a very different engagement in a screen, right?
yes.
Then, because they're being creative, they're plugged into their creative side. Or on the iPad, there's a Procreate, amazing. It's totally worth it to buy it. It's like, I can't remember, it's less than $20, I think, and it's an app that's like Photoshop but so intuitive. And you can go to Apple stores. I actually hosted field trips for our co-op and homeschool community to the
Uh-huh.
Apple store, and they hosted field trips, classes for free. But
Mm,
you don't have to be a homeschooler to do that. You can just go, and you don't even have to own, this is the cool thing, you don't even have to own any Apple products. You can go to Apple. I mean, they obviously want you to buy their products, but you can go to an Apple store, and take their classes, and they will hand you a brand new iPad with Procreate on it, with a Pro Pen, a pencil, Apple Pencil, and they'll teach you step 1, like, and there was like grandmas beside me. There was it was really neat. There was like, a 5-year-old learning beside a 95-year-old, right? Like, it was cool, and we designed the most beautiful landscapes, and They have many different types of classes you can take. So just think like, let's say it was you designing a t-shirt on Canva or designing a t-shirt on Procreate, which a 7-year-old can absolutely do.
Mhm.
They might want to spend 2 hours doing that while you're folding laundry and cooking dinner and stuff like that on the laptop on the kitchen table. Like that's totally possible that they're gonna want to dive in and hyper focus on those activities. Or let's say they're making a craft because they're gonna sell it,
Yeah,
or packaging their product. Like you don't have to be your attention doesn't have to be totally there all the time, right? You set them up with the activity and then you get to go do other things around the house while you're nearby if they need you. But they're going to take off. They get excited and then when you see, "Oh, yeah, you're totally able to do this on your own." They're going to take off and you don't have to micromanage them, right? You're their helper in a sense, and they're it's their business. You're
definitely.
you're their employee in a way, right? You can say, "Hey, I'm your employee, but I'm gonna, I'm also your guardian, right? I'm gonna like." It's like in bowling how they put the things in the gutters. It's like we're especially with the first,
We're the
with
bumpers.
the
Yep.
bumpers. Thank you for the very first time they do the business, like, they could go to freekidbiz.com, get and which you give them a free lemonade stand business, right? Maybe that there's totally the bumpers on there, like, you're hands-on every step of the way, and then the next month, they order, a business in a box from you, and then the kid you're maybe 5% off hands-on, get a little bit less hands-on every month as the kid learns more and more
Yeah.
about how to do it on their own.
We do have video modules that walk them through the business plan. So if you are a busy parent and you do need us to walk them through the business plan, we have videos of young adults or teenagers that are actually walking them through creating their business. So you can do it with them, which I highly recommend if you have the time. But if you don't have the time, we do have those videos online for you that as soon as you buy a business in a box, we enroll you into that video module online and you're able to just click, they're able to click from one to the next. So we have that.
Ah, that is so cool. I love
Yeah,
that. I love that.
yeah.
You'd said that you're different from the other companies out there. I offline before we hit record, I said that I had signed up with your competitor. This was about a year ago,
Mhm,
and I was so disappointed. I spent over $200 and it
mhm.
was so dry. We watched about an hour worth of the content, got nowhere, and our son learned almost nothing, and it was just boring, dry, and it was all like more theoretical business stuff dumbed down for
Mhm,
kids, but it wasn't rubber meets the road actually like actually being successful. And that's a big difference between, even though you're saying, well, your business, you're still in you're still in the growing phase. You're still in the, you're taking feedback, you're growing as you take feedback. But the biggest difference between you and the other kid business companies
mhm,
is that you're very much focused on rubber meets the road. The kids are going to make money. The kids are going to have a feeling of success, and you too as a parent. So
yeah.
it's a beautiful blend of helping your kid be successful and then watching them complete something and have that learning, and then being able to do it on a monthly basis, like one business a month. How much fun is that? Because something's gonna stick. They're gonna wanna take it to the next level. So, do you have a 2.0 kit for when they wanna take something to the next level? I know you talked about what you're building out, like the internal kind of membership site you're building out, but, um, what if, like, they do the pizza business and then they wanna take it to the next level and expand and grow? Like, do you have, modules for that?
Yeah, these initial modules, you're exactly right. These initial modules we created, I mean, our whole hearts are in this. I have one employee who also used to be an entrepreneur and also has kids. So these have all been tested, but they're bite-sized chunks to where your kids are not going to be sitting and watching a video for an hour or 2 hours or reading a book about entrepreneur ideas, but then it doesn't teach them really how to do it. These are bite-sized chunk where it's like, here's a section, let's do that activity, right? It might be create your logo and let's get that done. And then it might be set your menu and let's get the menu set. Let's talk to people about what they want on the menu and let's get that. And then let's start thinking about your grand opening. How many people can you invite? How many people does your house, seat? And so everything's like a little bite-sized chunk as they go through these. But you just asked me a question and I spaced on it. But oh, what's the next step? Yes. So this initial futurepreneur that we're doing right now is really targeting that, sweet spot of 7 to 13, 7 to 14. But we will there's more programs out there that are called teen startup programs, that then if they have an idea or you can see a real passion in one area, we have people that we would recommend they go to, that actually takes a teen through a teen startup where they can apply for a grant, or they can do like a little
Mm.
kid Shark Tank. We are going to bring that in house. Give us a couple years. I mean, I'd love to interview with you a year from now, and I think you're going to
Yeah.
be really excited. But all of this is in my mind. I really want a path for kids that gravitate towards entrepreneurship early. I wish that I would have taken my 20s and grinded out a business. I spent it in corporate America and I learned a lot, and I'm exactly where I should be. And I took a lot from that. And there was a reason that I was there. But if I could do it over again, I would take some people, I would say, take your college money and start a business and get some real
Yeah.
world experience before you just dive into a 4 year college where you don't even know what you're going to major in yet, right? So and where you can sleep on your mom's couch. I mean, you fail and you're 21, 22 and not married with kids yet, you can move back home with mom maybe. So your risk is so low in your early 20s. Your creativity is high. Hopefully you have a high drive. Again, I was talking to my cousin that says, I feel like this generation in college right now, they just don't, I'm generalizing, but there's not a lot of drive in them. And I'm like, that's our
Mhm.
fault as parents, is we were all frozen during this COVID time in their middle school years, where they started consuming way too early instead of going out and creating and building things and moving
Mhm.
forward there. And so we've got to shift it, and it's got to happen now. This is the most important work that I've done in my life, so far. And I have co-working spaces for entrepreneurs, by the way. So I'm in a world of entrepreneurship. So I own a very large 21,000 square foot co-working space in Tucson, Arizona. And then I also own something called Proper Shops, which is where makers get to set up shop in there. So it's more like a month-to-month membership to sell their stuff for creators that can't buy a brick and mortar yet. They can't
Oh
sign a
my
lease
gosh.
yet. So I own Proper
Cool.
Shops. Yeah, so I own Proper Shops. The L offices is my co-working space. So I'm in this world anyways, but my passion is, okay, now how do I teach this to my kids and your kids and everyone else's kids that really want that in their life? So how do you start early? Where do you go from next? And how do you keep that drive through college? I wouldn't just send my kid to college unless they really wanted to be an engineer or an architect, or they had something in mind. I really want to be a doctor, right? So I would say, go out and fail. Start a business. I'd
Yes.
rather invest in your first business than invest in a 4 year college degree where you're going to get a degree that doesn't matter. My husband has a humanities degree and he just switched it because he went on his 4th year of college and said, okay, I've taken all these classes. What's my quickest way out? And they said, well, you have a lot of gen ed, so how about humanities? I mean, this is a 4 year college that my in laws paid for out of state tuition for my husband to get a humanities degree. And he now designs and sells swimming pools, something that he didn't need his humanities degree for. So
Exactly.
I would rather spend that money into their first business and watch them go after it, create something, or fail. They're going to learn so much more than 4 years at a degree they're not going to use.
Mhm. My friend was kicked out of she went to a private Christian high school, and
Okay.
they kicked her out at 14 because she wasn't like maintaining her grades, which is ridiculous to me, right? Like
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and so she ended up just going to work. She worked as a barista, and then she worked in retail, and then she ended up finding a homeschooling co-op that would help her get her like finish her high school degree. But I'm speaking to the people who have ADHD and were never diagnosed,
Mhm.
basically.
Mhm.
And they're, people who are neurodivergent don't even know it, right? They were just
Mhm.
told that, you have so much potential. Why don't you live up to your potential? Right. And they got really bad grades, but they're like smarter than their teacher. They're incredibly bright, but they
Yep.
weren't able to like be in a walk down the center of the road, which is how brick and mortar education only teaches to a certain learning style. And right now it's regurgitation of information, and all of high school is set up to dump you into a college. It's just like, "Oh, we're just gonna teach you how to get great SAT scores," or whatever. Like, they're teaching you how to be a good college student, not how to be successful in life. If they were, they wouldn't have gotten rid of, wood shop and, mechanics and
Yes.
learning how to, like, change your own tire, right? Home ec. Oh my gosh, I am so grateful that I got to take home ec. Like, I not that like, I was already passionate about cooking, but, like, I learned how to sew. I to this day, when I hem something, I think back to my 7th grade class where
Wow.
everyone, including the boys, learned how to sew by hand, stitch like, they don't teach life skills because they're in school, it is not about making successful, healthy human beings, well-rounded human beings. No, they're trying to dump you into college. It's just we're being misled, right? As it's
Mhm.
and that's why I love homeschooling, because w- our whole job is to raise great people. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
spiritually
Happy,
sound, happy,
great people.
successful people that care about each other, that want to help each
Mhm.
other, right? Like well-rounded people. And um so I just love that what you're doing is
Thank you.
is 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 bringing in something that is needed. This should be taught in school, right?
Mhm.
So my friend, she gets kicked out of high school. She ends up figuring out that she could take some kind of like class. Took less than a year and get a certificate and become a Montessori teacher. And she did it. Started her own Montessori business. This is how I met her, because she was back in 2020 when all the Montessoris shut down because of COVID. She was the one that was like refusing to mask children. And I found out about her through the
Good for her.
grapevine, and her and I ended up becoming like BFFs, because it's like we live in an area where everyone was crazy, and we felt like we were the crazy ones for not like masking and staying indoors. Like, I was tearing
Mhm.
down the caution tape around the swings and around the play structures in the park so my kid could play, because my kid's not gonna get a deadly disease from going down a slide in the outdoors. Like, I mean, I'm sorry, but this is just
No, but they're gonna get depressed if they're
they're gonna get
inside for
depressed if they're indoors. This is how I
60
made
days.
most of my mom friends, is like we were the ones at the playgrounds not wearing masks in 2020, letting our kids breathe fresh air and be in
Yep,
sunlight, the very things that are good for the immune system.
yep.
And so anyways, she ended up being our Montessori teacher for our son, and she ran her business for 13 years and never had any college debt. And she ended up being able to buy she ran it out of her home, and she was able to pay for her house in a very affluent neighborhood with her business. And just watching her go from, all of her teachers would have said she would have been a failure at life. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is because
Yeah.
in their worldview, if you can't get straight A's, then what good are you? And to be able to like not even graduate a traditional brick and mortar high school, to then go on to create a very successful business, right? That
Mhm.
sustained her whole family. Um, that's what's available to us. That's what is available to our kids. And yeah, I totally agree. A kid should not go to college or university unless they know exactly what they want to do. Like, my son wants to be an aerospace engineer right now. I mean, he's 10. So he's like, he wants to go into engineering, but it's like picking out the exact college, the exact program. He knows exactly what he wants to do and why he wants to do it. Whereas if he didn't know what he was doing, don't enroll your kid just to get like a general, degree. And then what? And
And then
not
what?
why do we give into this brainwashing that this is all Hollywood, right? We're all raised like, when you're 20, you should be in college. Like, this is part of the rite of passage. It's like, no, I love your advice. 20-year-olds should be trying big things, and with the risk of failing. My dad, who ended up making a very successful business, he had like 9 failures before he made his successful business. He had like the most famous one was because he was so passionate about he loved boats, like, you know, getting on a lake and being in a boat, right? Like
Yep.
racing boats and stuff like that. And my mom was like, "Okay, well," because he's like, "I wanna be an entrepreneur." Because my mom's like, "Well, what do you love?" He goes, "I love boats." She goes, "Okay, all right, so start a marina." So not everyone knows what a marina is. It's a business that services boats and sells boat
Yep.
accessories, right? Well, he started a marina, it was a dry land marina, meaning it's not attached to a lake, right? And he named it my mom's like, "Okay, what's your favorite color?" "Red." His favorite color was red. So they came up with the name Red Brick Marina, and it was a miserable failure, and he's like and this was early on in his life, and he would joke about it, he'd say, "Well, what sinks to the bottom of the lake?" "Red bricks," and that was
That's
like
funny.
that was that business sank to the
Oh
bottom of the
no.
lake, but he learned so much from it. So when he finally created the last business he ever made, which was his successful business, um, it was on the back of all of his failures. That was his education. And it cost less than a college degree to have 9 failures that taught him how to have the success. And so I just like that encouraging kids to try something and then learn from a failure and almost like want to earn a failure, like a degree, right? Like we should like print out little certificates, like you earned this failure. What did you learn from it? Because like you can't even buy that. You can't buy the education you get from a failure. And because you tried. And I love that. Yeah, of course, you can always come back and sleep on my couch as a 20-year-old because you're trying, right? Um,
Exactly.
there was this famous guy, he started Acuity Scheduling, that's the scheduling program that you went through in order to get on my show, and, I loved actually, before I started my podcast, I would listen to, Andrew Warner, his podcast, he's been doing it forever, he's got thousands of interviews. He interviews the CEOs and the people who start companies from the ground up, right? So like
Mhm.
the guy that created Uber, right? Like, and he somehow extracts from them the learnings from the failures because they're all by the time he interviews them, they're successful. So they want to talk about how successful they are, but he wants to talk
Yeah.
about how crappy it was right at the beginning and all those sort of like the speed bumps and all the times where they thought that it was over, right? And what did they learn from it, right? Like the dark night of the soul, right? He wants to get that out of them. And it was so cool hearing the guy that created his Acuity Scheduling because he was like, "Listen, I was working for," I think he said Google. He's like, "I was working for Google and I had come home to my apartment that had 0 furniture." He goes, I just had a floor and my laptop and then I worked and my sister helped and I worked all night long and I didn't have any furniture and I ate top ramen." And it was like that level of like passion and
Yeah.
drive, right? And you hear about, I don't know, people like Elon Musk who like they would sleep under their desk and it's that hunger. I want my kid to have that, right? I want my kid to have that hunger that want to succeed but it's okay if it doesn't because the next success is going to be built on the back of the learnings of the failure. So, you're right at the beginning.
Yeah, I pulled some research on like the 20th wealthiest people in the United States, like right now. And at what age did they start their first business? So you mentioned
Ooh.
you mentioned Elon, and he started at 12. He sold a business at 12 for 500 bucks, right? Um, and then Zip2, I think he was 24 maybe, and he sold it for 300. That was his first big win. He sold it for 300 million. Um, and then 3 of the top 20 are all connected to Walmart, which is, the Walton family, and they started the dad started his first retail business at age 24 after serving in the military.
Mm.
So looking at these 20th wealthiest people, and I think out of the 20, it was like really high number, like 15, 16 of them were in their 20s when they started their first company. And then do you know what percentage of 24-year-olds today own a business? 4. 4%. So 4 out of 100 are on the right path, right? To creating that. If that's what they want, to create that wealth and freedom in their life and really make the stamp in the world, 4 out of 100 own their own business at 24. So and those numbers we thought were getting higher and more people are starting their business, but actually at that age, it's really been flat for many years. And it's hard to go back so long because they didn't have LLCs back then, right? They just, if they were good at woodworking or they were shoeing horses back then, they just shoed horses and got money. So they didn't like register their LLC. So it's hard to go really far back in time to look at the stats of people that started their business in the 20s. But to me, it's astounding. And if I can just change that percentage from 4% of kids at the age of 24 own a business to 6 or 7% own a business, I mean, we're making a big difference in the leadership in this country. So, but I looked at that, and then I also, here's some other stats that drive me bananas. Is I was just looking at ASU, Arizona State University, and they're my rival, so I figured I'd make fun of them. So I went to U of A, but in 2023, about, let's see, 360, I just pulled up the stats in front of me, about 310 kids graduated with English, philosophy, or early childhood education. And I'm picking those three majors because it's such a big chunk of the graduating class. And 800, by the way, graduated in psychology. So, but you look at those 4 degrees, and they're making at a starting salary about $40,000 to $45,000 a year starting salary. It
Ouch.
is. I mean, you've gone through a 4-year college at a big
Ouch.
university, and you can't even live off this. So, for English, philosophy, and early childhood education, only about 50% of those kids are actually working in their field, which I get because the other 50% are bartending where they're going to at least make more than 40,000 a year, right? Or they're doing something else. So did they really need that degree, right? So those are kind of the two things I'm looking at and I'm really following is what makes sense. What makes sense. Now, if you look at nursing or finance degrees or engineering degrees, computer science, business administration, their starting salaries at least up at 65 to 75 range where they can probably live on. But that 40,000 a year, you can't live on that these days.
Look, and
So
could
they
they have gotten the same degree or certificate or license going through a different
Mhm,
program, like
mhm.
going through like an independent college or a community college? Like if you're like, okay, I want to be in early childhood education. Is there a way? Like my friend who she took a course and was able to open
Montessori.
her own Montessori, right?
Yep.
Do you have to go to a really expensive university? Is that the best option? Is there maybe a shorter track that specializes specifically in the thing that you're in? Is there a way to do a mentorship program? Like in the UK, I'm not like an expert in the education system in the UK, but my friend who moved there I'm originally from Canada, I live in the States. My friend moved there during high school and then would, we'd stay in communication. She tell me about it. She goes, it's really interesting here because around 14 years old, you decide whether you wanna go to high school or go into a mentor like, into a trade at
Mhm,
14. So if you're like,
mhm.
"I wanna be a mechanic and work with my dad in his garage," you don't go to high school, like, at 14, you start into the trade. That you can go to trade school earlier and that is fully acceptable because 'cause you're, like, gonna learn you're gonna become highly skilled in that one area.
Yep.
So why are we learning all the things we don't need if we want someone to become highly skilled in that one trade, for example? And that doesn't mean they can't go back if they're like, okay, I'm 20 years being a mechanic, now I want to become something else. They can always go back. But like, why does a kid need to go through 4 years of university to then go into a trade that they could have done maybe a 9-month program at a smaller college, right? So,
Exactly.
but this is what I love about even if they wanted to go to university, if they own their own business, it could help fund it, right? It could definitely be teaching them life skills, communication skills, right? So a teenager can run a business and then if they grow it and it's successful, they can still choose to go to college or university, but they're having real life skills. They're you c just this idea that you have to buy, an education, a degree, a certificate in order to be successful in life, that's the scam.
There is
That
no better way to learn business economics than throwing money into a business that fails, right?
right.
Like there is no better way. And I went to an engineering college and I learned economics and no way did I know what I needed to know until I got out there and did it. And yeah. So keep it fun when they're young and let them grow bigger as they're in high school, you know, and we specifically targeted that age because at high school, I want them now diving into what they're passionate about. So when they're in middle school or even elementary school, I want them trying different things out. I want them building a doghouse. I want them doing fun stuff and seeing what they're attracted to and seeing what they really flourish in and what they like. And then by high school, now we start narrowing it in, right? You like advertisement, you like creating video ads for your favorite ice cream shop. That's our next one, by the way, coming out is to go out and create a video ad for your favorite
Mm,
ice cream store. And then, you know, you can create 2 or 3 and then going and seeing if the ice cream owner will buy the ad
buy
off you.
it from
So,
you. Yeah,
yeah.
become your own marketing agency because the
Yeah.
kids these days know how to do TikTok, short TikTok clips, and business owners don't have the bandwidth to learn how to TikTok. So if you
Yes.
could go sell your skills and sell a few TikTok videos to promote local businesses. So there's this one farm. Okay, I don't know if it's just my area, but here in the Pacific Northwest, I live just north of Seattle, Washington State, right? We have this thing that I haven't seen in other areas. So you're gonna have to tell me wait, what's you're in Arizona?
Uh-huh.
Okay, okay. In the fall, so starting in September and October, do you guys have pumpkin, farms? And it
Yeah.
becomes like okay, it's like Disney World, but if on a farm. It's like you
Yes.
get to I mean, back in the day, it was like we rode on a tractor on a hay, that was the hay ride, and that was like the highlight, right? That's like the least fun thing to do now because they have
Yep.
the bouncy houses, and they have the thing where you can mine for gold, and they have the mazes, right? And they have the giant, scary, break your neck hay slides, and they have the cow train. And so they just have all these activities, and it's like going to Disneyland on a farm. They have a ton of them here. Like you can't even go to all of them in October. There's too many of them to go to, and they're all full and they're wonderful. Well, our very favorite one is Bob's Farm, and it's up in, Snohomish and near Maltby, and it's amazing, and Bob, it's his whole 3 generations of his family run it, and they're all wonderful people, and I'm friends with cousins of his, and all the everyone that I've talked to who knows Bob, and I've met Bob several times, but they're like, "He really is awesome." Like, he's not just, like, awesome to the customers and then, like, you know what I mean? Like, behind the scenes, like a mean person, like, he's really awesome, and his whole family's awesome. And they set out to make a great experience. So I think it's the best one, but I've been to the others and the others are good. Well, this year we went and it was like during a school day because this is when homeschoolers come out to play, right? Is when is when all the kids are in brick and mortar schools. And we came and it was like on a Tuesday at like 11 a.m. and the place was packed, and I mean packed, wall to wall packed. And I was like, "What's going on?" The staff were like, "Oh, we exploded some Instagram video, some TikToker
Yeah.
about like local places did a video on us, and it went viral, and everyone is coming from like miles and miles now." And they totally took off. They were literally running out of everything, ran out of food every day. Like it was so good for them. It was so good for their business.
Mhm.
But that's the thing is like hyper local attractions, right? Making these videos for businesses. And if you can make them go viral, it's huge. So what if, the 12-year-old or the 13-year-old went and made some videos and then sold them to the businesses. I love that because it's
Yeah.
it's using the kids' creativity. You're really helping market other and you're learning what works, what doesn't work. Because if you don't get engagement, you learned, okay, what did I do in that video? Was the video too long? Was it too short? Was there not a hook? They're gonna learn a
Yep.
lot of marketing really quickly on the fly. And that's like they're not failing monetarily and they can afford to fail because they're not as a child they're not paying the bills. So if they make a video and it doesn't succeed and it doesn't help the customer, right? Then they've got to invest more energy into the next video because maybe they said to the customer, "Okay, pay me $50 and I guarantee you're going to get this much engagement." and I'll keep making videos until you do, right? And so they have to learn
Yep.
what works, what doesn't work. So a failure doesn't necessarily hurt anyone. There's no pain. It's just, "Oh, that didn't work. Why didn't it work?" And it becomes again the Edison thing. That filament didn't work. Great. That is feedback. Failure is feedback. And no one's getting hurt because your kid doesn't have to pay the bills. Now, if you quit your job to start a business and that didn't work, like you've got a bill to pay. So there's like that, it's
Yes.
like this high stakes. Whereas you're like, take big risks when you're 7 and you're doing your business because you're just learning. Take big risks when you're 20 because you could still go back and live on, hopefully, right? Hopefully you live on your parents' couch while you're still learning. It's
Exactly.
okay, right? So I love that the kids can use their creativity and their skills. And then as a mom, I'm going to be learning, you know, surprisingly, I'm going to be learning things. We're all going to be surprised by what we learn as we see our kids grow from these experiences. We talk about the past, like you said, before the 1920s. We don't really know. Benjamin Franklin, who my husband's related to, so we like to study him. He was 12 years old when he ran his first factory, or like for first business. And we know, of course, Benjamin Franklin started. He was like a serial entrepreneur. He started many businesses, and some that are still going today,
Mhm.
like the Farmer's Almanac. And that idea of back in the day, is a really, really interesting book called Hunt, Gather, Parent. And it was written by an NPR journalist who traveled around the world to observe different parenting styles. And that back in the day, 1,000 years ago or more, right? We didn't have obviously brick and mortar schools. We didn't have this idea that everyone goes to college or everyone goes to university when they're 20 or 19 or whatever, 18. Um, but that your kid from a very young age would just be part of the family business. So if you were bakers, the kid was kneading the dough or sweeping the floor or just part of it, grew up in it, learned the skill, growing up learning the skill, being part of it, right? And they weren't forced to be a baker. They could go off and do something else, but they were part of the skill. And so if
Yes.
you're doing horseshoes, like you're alongside your dad doing horseshoes. And there's pictures of like kids doing the chimney sweeping covered in the soot with their dad. And I'm not a big thing into I'm not big into like torturing children and child labor, but it's beautiful that
It
kids were
is.
part of learning these skills, which like we used to learn in school. Like I said, you used to learn to sew and bake, and now they have no life skills. We got
I
to teach them
know.
that. It's crazy.
I know. I know. Well, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing.
I love it.
This is where
Yeah.
parents need to really use that special time, that special time before other things grab their attention, right? When you're their biggest influence, when you're their hero, when they still look up to you for those life lessons rather than the celebrity that they've seen on TV. That's when you've got to utilize that time. And those 5 years, as you know, if you're raising a child, those 5 years go by so
So
fast.
fast.
So
I was just
take the
telling my
time and do
husband
it.
that because we're teaching
Mhm.
the 5th grade, and I just told him, I'm like, "We only have a few years left. Like, we only have a few
Yeah.
years left until he's, like, not listening to us anymore."
Yes.
And we need to, like, really cherish that and
Mhm.
foster that.
Mhm.
So, I know you said this is new, generally speaking, but, like, and you've been proving it for a while. How for the very beginning of this, like, how long ago was that? And have you stayed in touch with the kids that first started out? How many years have they been doing it? Or can you tell us some stories about the children that started out, doing these business kits that you
Ye
provide?
Yeah, we don't have a lot of data on that because we just started shipping this year in February.
Okay.
So February 2025, we started shipping. We started creating last year. Obviously, I own a few businesses. I'm a mom of three. So the creation phase, I wanted to have this launched way before it did, but I just had to be patient with myself and say, I can only do what I can do. And I really wanted the product good, right? So
Mhm.
all of 2024, we spent creating the little business plan curricula. You can call it curricula, you can call it business plan, whatever you want to, but we spent creating those, we felt like we had 9 that were really good and were interested in, I never actually wanted a lemonade stand. I'm like, "Ma, that's like the normal, right? Why do I want one?" But then we surveyed kids and I'm like, "What businesses would you own? Would you open if you could open a business?" And these are 10, 11, 12-year-olds and they're like, "Oh, we want to do a lemonade stand." I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess we're doing a lemonade stand." So, we really we took information from the kids. We looked at each of the businesses. We said, what special skills could we teach in each one of these businesses? Like, so
Oh.
I have this list of kind of entrepreneur skills that if I could go back, I wish I would have learned forecasting. Like, so in our dog walking business, we talk about forecasting. So we look at a schedule and say, hey, if I just walk a dog, 2 days a week, and I can walk a dog all through the summer. So I have 3 months, 2 days a week. How much would I make, right? What's that forecast look like? What does that revenue look like? Um, I took all the skills that I would love to have learned at an early age and put them on paper and then said, okay, here's the businesses we want to start with. Here's the skills I want to teach. Where can I fit these skills into those business plans? And we did that. And I kind of created an outline for each of them. Here's what I want them to learn. Here's the process. And then we did pull in an educational writer because I write in my language. I'm a math nerd. I'm not a writer. And so we pulled in someone that is an educational writer to say, okay, turn my language into kid language. We did that. And then my employee, Kyle, she's incredible. She's done the graphics for it. She's made the scripts for the kids. And then we brought in some, kid actors and actresses to do the little video modules. But it took us about a year to really get it to where I was confident releasing it to the public. And then we launched in February and it was completely word of mouth. We did zero paid advertising until November of this year.
Oh,
So I know,
that's
zero
so
paid.
great.
I know. We did a couple homeschool conventions, so you can call that paid, but that was in person.
Yeah.
We ran some ads. In November and December were our best months by far. But we ran some ads. We have, I think, close to 3,000 families that have gone through the program, or I should say 3,000 shipments. But a lot of those, some of those families, probably 20% are reorders. So they've ordered and then they've ordered again, which is a good sign. We
Yes.
reach back to that, but um, when we call or reach out and a parent does admit, well, we didn't finish it or we didn't go through it, and I'll say, okay, no problem. This isn't like you're in trouble. I'm just trying to understand why. And it's typically because the family got busy. Well, we got busy or we started it, but then we had blah 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 come up or something. And so this is a lesson for parents really. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
getting a little bit more bold. My letter that goes out to the mentors is bold. Is like, hey, I'm not here just to sell you something. Like my goal
Right.
in Futurepreneur is not to make a lot of money. I have 2 great residual income businesses and I love them. And they're not going anywhere. This is to really teach kids grit, persistence, and creativity. And so that grit, you have to hold them to it. There's not no 8-year-old that's going to say, "Oh, it got tough, but I stuck it out." Right? So you got to teach them that sticking it out creates great results. So we're learning that we teach the parents along with the kids. But yeah, so we don't have a lot of long-term data. But everything we have right now, the people that finish the program, they love it. And they either reorder it or they give us a really good review. And then this year, we're going to lean a little bit more into the events. So we'll be doing these Futurepreneur Live immersion events. My goal is 3 next year. So our first one's in Tucson just because it's here local and it's easy for me.
Yeah.
Um, but our biggest clientele is in Florida for whatever reason. I don't
Really?
know. Yeah, and
Cool.
we haven't run ads there, but I think there's some word of mouth homeschool, maybe co-op, or there's a homeschool Facebook page that's posting about us or something. But we'll see batches of orders from Florida, which is really special. So we might invest in going and doing a Futurepreneur event in Florida, which would be really great, and then one in Utah this next year. So those are our 3 targeted at the moment.
That's so cool. I I can definitely see this being taught in co-ops. Like you said, you taught in your co-op. I can see integrating this into our co-op. Um, or
Yeah,
just
we
even
wanna
like,
make it easy for you. We
yes.
wanna say, like, "You're good at teaching, right? That's what you do. I'm not a teacher, but I wanna." So, I interviewed the co-op. I chatted with the gal after we finished the unit and said, "Okay, you know, where did we go wrong, or what helped you?" And she's like, this helped us." I'm like, "Okay." So now I'm creating kind of a curricula for the homeschool co-op leaders to say, here's the 8 units, make them your own, but here's what we think the kids should learn before they or while they're launching their business.
Hmm.
And it's just an activity, just a fun activity, whether it has to do with budgeting or finances, or whether it has to do with branding and marketing, or what, but every business has these main segments that they go through, and how can we turn that into a really fun activity for your kids? It's going to teach them something, give them real world skills, teach them grit, and lets them create. So that's coming this next year. So we're going to lean into homeschool this next year, and we're going to lean into our Futurepreneur events this next year, and see where it
Nice.
takes us. Yeah.
Nice. And you've got like that book stuff that anyone can kind of sit down and learn, but it's that rubber meets the road that you
Mhm.
can't get from a book, that you can't get from watching a video, you can't get from a curriculum. And that's like the going out and like talking to a business, right? We have some stores nearby, and my son could absolutely walk in. They probably recognize him because, we shop there, but he could absolutely go up to the owners and and
Mhm.
market to them, right? And talk to them. And if they say no, he could say, I thank you for the no. I'm looking for feedback. Why did you say no? So I can learn from it. Like, he could or go to our we live in a townhouse community. He could go door to door. The neighbors have seen him around, they know him. But he could go and try to sell something to them, right? Or get pre-orders for something. And it's the activity of talking to people, of communicating, that activity. You can't teach that. That is a skill. Just like I couldn't teach you how to be really good at hitting a ball with a bat if we just
Mhm.
sat in a room together, right? With no ball and no bat. Like, there's no it is a muscle memory, right? It's something that happens through doing. And so I love that your program is all about the doing and the learning from the doing. And we could all learn from that. We could even adults. And
Exactly.
I love that you had a mom come and say, "Hey, can I do this for my business too?" Um you maybe you'll start packaging these for parents also, for businesses also.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, there's the fundamentals, and there are business owners who are struggling, and it's because there's missing a leg on their, one of the legs, one of the main foundations. Like, they're missing a piece of their marketing, right? Or piece of understanding. Like, they have a great product, but they don't know how to market it to the right person, or how to, like, engage with the customer or whatever. Like, there's great adults out there with their own businesses, and they're struggling too. And so I could see them getting these kits for their kids, but learning from them as well.
Mhm.
There's this interesting thing that's arose in the last few years, this gig economy. And
Mhm.
I really do feel like Gen Z and now Gen Alpha are more open than we
Mhm.
think to doing there's gig economy is a bit like this, right? Because it's taking something that's pre-made, and then they plug themselves into it, and they run with it, right? And so they could learn how to plug into the gig economy, but on their own terms, like being the dog walker or something like that. But I think that they're more open to it than we even realize.
Yeah,
um
yeah, and I think
yeah.
it's because they've seen this generation, especially my mom's generation. I kind of split, I'm like the high millennial generation, but
Hmm.
I've watched my mom, and she's just worked around the clock. I mean, and my dad, both true, just grind it out, no work-life balance. And,
Yep.
they've seen that also, and they're saying, well, I don't want that either. So I want a little balance in my life. I want some fun. I want to be successful. I want to have autonomy. I want to have choices. I want to have freedom, but I also want to have money. And and in order to do that, you really do need to work for yourself. And an easy way to do that without a bunch of employees is to plug into that gig economy, right? Have something you're really good at that you can sell, that other people don't want to learn, that you can sell. Now you have to be very careful when you're picking your gig, because
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I won't say ChatGPT, I'll just say AI in general, is going to take over a lot of this gig economy. There are, I've been telling people that, if you want to be a lawyer, you better be that top 5%. You better be a top 5%, or you better be really good at marketing, because I now go to AI to create some basic law documents that I used to have to pay to get created,
Yeah.
right? So you've got to be really good at your gig. Or you've got to be really good at marketing. Like, you have to be likable. People have to like you. They have to
Mm-hmm.
want to communicate with you. And so really think about that. I tell adults this, I'm in at this age in my life, and I talk to friends that I graduated with, and the ones that are in a career, they feel stuck at this point because
Yep.
their kids are in middle school, they're in high school, they might even be in college, but they're stuck. They have a big mortgage, they have car payments, they have health insurance, they've got all this stuff that they are stuck, and they wish they would have started entrepreneurship at a young age, right? That's why we're doing
Mm-hmm.
this. But also, they're like, how do I transition out of this? And you're like, you got to get, what are you really good at? What are you really good at? And you got to lean all in. You got to go all in on it. Then you got to figure out how to market it, and you got to ease your way out of the job. It's the only way to do it. So if kids can start that at a young age, and they can pick something that they feel will last. No, in no way do you know what you're going to do in 10 years. Do I know what I'm going to do in 10 years? These kids know what they're going to do in 10 years. If you ask someone that and they say, I know exactly where I'm going to be in a decade, they're crazy, right? And Mark Rober actually said this in a previous interview, is that, if you can teach kids that life is like going over a stream, where you look ahead of you and you say, okay, there's a log here and there's a couple rocks here, and you're going to, you've got maybe three options. You're going to reach your toe out and kind of test it a little bit and say, oh, this rock looks sturdier. This is the smarter way. And then you jump to that rock. And then what do you do next? You look forward and say, okay, what's my next way? Right. And then you may put your toe and test another way out, and then go all in and leap to the next one. And you may have to go backwards, right? Then you're like, uh-oh, I'm stuck here. I might have to take a step back, but just keep going. And that's what makes life exciting, is you don't know what's next in 10 years. You don't know what's in front of you, but I'm telling you, if you have the grit, if you have creativity, if you have passion in your life, and you go all in on something and you just keep going and keep pivoting and keep going, you will end up going, I just conquered that river. And this is what we teach at a young age.
I
And
love
so, and this
that.
is what we'll teach in our events. So, yeah,
I
for whatever
love
that's
that.
worth. And I think parents can take that away too, right? I mean, I teach my parent friends that are saying, gosh, Krystal, how do I get out of this job? Because you did it, right? How do I do it? And so if I'm talking to them, I'm like, that's what you got to do. You got to find out what's the path of least resistance right now, and then you got to go all in. And if fear makes you paralyzed, you're in the middle of the river, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I can't take a leap, and you're stuck on fear, that's a depressing place to be. So,
Mm.
as much as you've got to get through that fear barrier, and every entrepreneur talks about this, right? Every entrepreneur has been through it, because it is scary at times. But if you know that you're going to reach the end of the river, you might have to do a step back, you might have to downsize, you might have to, you know, I've drained bank accounts, man. I have been broke. I moved back in with my mom when I was pregnant with my first kid, because my husband and I, and this is after making a decade of making really good money, and we just made a mistake, right? We just went all in on something and it didn't go.
Yep.
And so we moved back in with mom, and it's okay, right? And then I remember I was like, Mom, I'm going to live in my own house when I have my first baby. I'm not living with you. And she had to sign our lease to get into our $1,200 small 2-bedroom townhouse where I had my first baby. And this is not that long ago. This is a decade ago. And in one decade, I am in a complete different financial situation. So
Mm-hmm.
you've gotta just trust, go back, go forth, go, and try to just have the positive outlook, and don't let fear paralyze you all the way through. And whether you're teaching that to a kid or you're teaching that to an adult, you've got to do it. That's what you got to do. So, and it's fun. Just do it.
I was just listening the other day to an interview about this guy who is like a serial entrepreneur. And he said something really interesting, and I think this is where a lot of people get hung up. It's like they think they have to kind of come up with a really good new idea. They're like, I don't have an idea. Like I want to be an entrepreneur and I don't want to like be in this dead end job that like AI is taking over. But I also don't have the idea, right? Like they're not inventing something new. And he's like, don't invent something new. Don't even have to make a better mousetrap. Actually go and find businesses or a type of business that is already doing something really well,
Mhm.
because there's enough people on this planet that you can if they've spent the last 10 years like working hammering out the marketing, and you can go to the Wayback Machine and look at what their website looked like 5 years ago. What was the languaging on it? What was the headlines? Like, what was the metadata on their website a year ago, 6 months ago? Like, what were they changing? Because they have been A/B testing the languaging on their website,
Mm.
and they've been,
Mhm.
all their advertising and stuff, they've been A/B testing it. And so they've hammered out, like, who are they marketing to? So they might have started out selling to a general audience, but now they only target people with migraines, right? And it's like, why are they now only targeting this type of audience? And what did they figure out? So you can kind of reverse engineer, like, they the people who are successful now have spent a decade or more, right? Figuring out what works. Either that or they go by the wayside, right? We think of like
Yeah.
Sears, Blockbuster, like these companies, Kmart, these companies that could have been early adopters and gotten online, but they were taken over by the Netflixes and the Amazons because they were able to adapt. We need right now the AI is coming in and it's going to destroy a ton of businesses just like the internet destroyed a ton of like Sears, right? Like no one thought Sears would ever. Now I'm talking to a 20-year-old. They're like, What's Sears?" Right? Like
Yep.
they have no idea. Sears was the Amazon of the last like 100 years or whatever. It was huge. And it all of a sudden overnight it's gone. Just like
Mhm.
Blockbuster, I grew up thinking Blockbuster would always be there. It was like, no one thought CDs or DVDs were going anywhere. And now
Yep.
I was just cleaning the house the other day and found a CD. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, do I even have a CD player?" Like, when was the last time? And that was my life, 20 years ago, was like my CD collection. And so like things are rapidly changing. And if we're not going to adapt, we're definitely going to be left by the wayside. Um, but this idea that people get held up on is, well, I don't know what idea to have. So first of all, I love that you already have in your kits, you give them an idea. Do a lemonade stand, do a t-shirt. You're not taking their creativity away. They're because they could make, like, my son was like, "I'm gonna make watermelon lemonade, and I'm gonna make," like, he's gonna come up with a whole
Mhm.
bunch of, he's like, "And I'm gonna," and on his own, he's like, "I'm gonna do a stevia one." I'm like, "I'm so proud of you," like, doing a no sugar lemonade, because 'cause I'd be right there. Anytime I go to a lemonade stand, I'm like, "Do you have a no sugar option?" Or, "Is this
Mhm.
fresh? Is this organic?" He's like, "I'm gonna do organic lemonade," you know?
Aw.
And so it's like there's where you're different, right? But you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with invent a new thing. You can find something that's a proven widget, a proven something, and you there's enough people on this planet that you can be successful, selling it to the exact same audience, right? And maybe you take all the information from the other companies that do it, and then you give it more love, more care, more like better customer service than them. So back in 2010, um there was a huge shift in my life. I had left my career to start my own job, and my husband, who was a foreman union carpenter for 20 years, out of nowhere, the company he's working for just has no work. And they're like, "Okay, just collect unemployment and we'll reach out to you in a few weeks," which is kind of normal to occasionally happen in carpentry and in commercial carpentry. Um, but it was like it all dried up. And this was because of the 2008, bubble that burst. And all of a sudden he was left with, there was no work for him. And so we kind of
Mhm.
sat there twiddling our thumbs going like, well, what next? And we cleared out we lived in Vegas at the time. We cleaned out our garage and we started a wood shop, and we decided to make bat houses. And I have an accent, so
Mm.
it's a birdhouse for bats, because when I say bat
Mhm.
houses, Americans go bat hoses. It's a house for a bat. And people, if you're not on the East Coast or Texas or Arizona, like you don't know that you can actually do this. Like people in Washington are like, why are you going to build a house for a bat, right? Well, it's bats are really neat. And so we ended up in our garage building and selling 350 bat houses that summer. And that
Wow.
money is what put food on the table, but it was
Mhm.
so much fun. It was a riot. So what we did is we went on eBay and we looked at the top selling bat houses, and they're all custom made. Um, and they were pretty crappy, to be honest, like, looking at their carpentry. My husband having 20 years as a carpenter, he's like, and he's so creative, he's like, "I can do better." But we looked at their feedback. So what's great about eBay is and Amazon now, right? But you can look at, so go on Amazon, go on eBay, look at the feedback of the seller, look at the rating of the object, right? And you read the negatives and you read the positives. I learn more from the negatives because they're like, you're going to learn, oh, the shipping was too expensive was the common complaint. Well, they were shipping it in the wrong way. So we found the flat rate box was the cheapest way. And so we designed our bat houses to fit in the pre-made boxes. So we got the shipping materials for free, and we were paying a flat rate because it was a flat rate fee to ship them with
Mhm.
USPS, and then they would get them in 3 days or less. And they're beautiful, they're well maintained, or they held together well. Customers love them. But we took all the feedback, the good and the bad, on eBay from all the bat house sellers, and figured out how to just do it better than them.
Mhm.
And that's one thing that you can do is anytime you're doing a business, you can take the feedback and learn from what they're doing right, learn from what
Yep.
they're doing wrong, right? And copy what they're doing right. So stand on the shoulders of the people before you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with the new latest greatest widget. It's cool if you do, but then you're starting
Mhm.
from the beginning, and then you have to do your A/B testing from the beginning, right? That whereas like what's great about your kits is you're going to give them like, hey, here's what works. Like, exactly where you should market it, exactly where you should, like, where's the most successful place to market this, right? As opposed to like, good luck, you're starting from scratch, so you have to figure it
Yep.
out on your own, right? And there might be, the 10 places that are bad and only one place that's good to host your lemonade stand. Um, but you're giving them at least the foundation so that
Yep.
they can, start to feel what it feels like to be successful. And when I was 7, I caught a pike in a lake. I was fishing on my own. I was alone, and this fish was the size of my arm. It was probably 8, 9 pounds. And my dad cleaned it and he barbecued it. And I sat at the table that night watching my parents as they ate the fish I caught. And I had this sensation, the first time ever in my life, of providing for my family. And
Mm.
it was a tangible sensation. I had it at 7. So when a kid has a success like that, it's life transformative. And it's something that they wanna recreate, you know what I mean? Especially if they can contribute back to their family. That is, such it's a value to wanna contribute back to your family. Um, so I can see that also happening here.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the kids get addicted to success. Like my middle child just the other day said, she got $35 from I think her grandma for Christmas, and she's like, "Mommy, I have $35, but if I do another business, I could have $100." Like she's just addicted to like, what can I do if
Yeah.
I'm successful? And not every kid's money motivated, right? So, and I found that out with my kids. One kid's money motivated, and one kid just likes the doing of it, right? She doesn't really
Yeah.
care how much she makes. So, but you'll find that some of those kids are money motivated, and they like success. And so I lean into it and I said, "Yep, you could have $100 in your pocket." I said, "What are we going to create?" I said, "Should we do manufacturing and pick lip gloss and manufacture our own lip gloss?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "Okay." So
Oh,
that
wow, fun.
we just ordered the stuff for lip gloss because we don't have a recipe yet. So on Futurepreneur, so I'm like, "Let's try it out."
Oh,
So here we go.
nice.
I know.
That's
So
so great. I hope you maybe do videos or something like and to share like are you doing that or will you consider doing that like as you do the future kits you could kind of like almost like Mark Rober you could share like hey this is what
Oh my
we're
gosh.
testing in our test kitchen and we're going to let you know this might be a kit we're going to be providing in 6 months or something like would you ever consider doing that like
Oh my,
documenting it
I wanna do this so bad. I know my Kyle that works with me, she's like, "Oh my gosh, Crystal, your ideas like don't fit into a time structure." But I want to have a channel where we go behind the scenes with kids
please
that
volunteer to do this, and we just follow them around for their 8 hours, right? Because it shouldn't take more than
yes
8 hours. And so I know. And so we
this is a
want
Netflix
volunteer
show
kids.
oh my gosh this is a
I
Netflix
know,
show
I
pitch
know, I know.
Netflix
I know I want to do that. I want to do this
I
so
want
bad.
to
And we
watch
just like,
this. I love
I
this is
know,
the reality TV. I want to watch the following the kids as they're successful. That
I
show
know.
what is that show about the billionaires that go into like they like they're thrown onto the street with $100 and they're
And
like
they recreate it.
yeah,
Yep.
there's like 2 seasons of it. It's kind of cheesy, but I love it. I love that concept of like, well, you've been successful so you can recreate it, right? But as a reality show, but this is even better following kids as they build their businesses and like what they learned and stuff like that. Oh my gosh, please pitch Netflix.
I know, I know, I know. We will do this too. I know. I'm like, get through the first event in February, and then I'm gonna focus on this because we wouldn't need marketing if we had a
No,
really great channel.
that is the
That
marketing.
yeah, it is the marketing. That is the marketing.
100%.
So,
That's
and
your
I would
focus.
rather do that. I'm so overspending money on ads. Like I'm like, I'll try
Yeah.
it out, but I just don't want to do it. I'd also rather go like teach homeschool co-ops and like have those moms share it organically
Yeah.
um, than pitch a venture capitalist and get a $50,000 grant so I can like run a bunch of ads. Like I just don't want to put money back into that system. There's just something against me. It's like I'm just paying Facebook and Meta $50,000 when I really could go out and create something with that 50,000 that's
Well, you
valuable.
could take that 50,000 and pay a videographer to follow you around and make these videos for one
Yep.
or I would think like find a bunch of influencers that are like moms, the mom kid influencer
Yep.
people and invite them to do a workshop just for them, host a workshop just for them and then they then, agree to document it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's
Yeah.
like, so then it's like then people are getting the experience of your kits and watching what they go off and do. But I that would be fun for to get other people to, but also I would just love, the videographer to follow the kids around that you teach and then see it, like see the end
Yeah.
result. Because we all could learn. That
We
was
all can
so
learn.
great. Awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited. 2026 is the year for grit for all of us.
That's right.
We're gonna set some goals and do stick to itiveness and grow our grit. Um, and
Yes.
we're gonna keep our eye on you, Krystal Popov, because you're gonna be doing some really fun things. Take all the ad spend money and put it towards some content for us to watch as like this all take off. And definitely come back in a year and we'll see what happens in a year because I know there's gonna be so much. I'm really excited for what you're doing and what you're doing for our kids. What you're doing for this future generation is awesome. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me on because without people like you that are doing amazing, effective, changing the world podcasts, it would be much harder for us to get the word out. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. So listeners can go to futurepreneur.com or freekidbiz.com. Of course, links to everything that Krystal Popoff does is going to be in the show notes of today's podcast at learntrail.com. Krystal, do you have any parting words for us to wrap up today's interview?
2026, show your child the light that you are that's inside of you. We all get overwhelmed with to-do lists and dropping off at practice and picking up at practice, but really just show your kid who the love inside of you and the light that you are and the excited zest that you have for life, and they will follow that. That's my last parting word.
Love it.
Have a great new year.
I sure hope you enjoyed today's interview with Krystal Popov. Wasn't she wonderful? It was so much fun to jam with her. And I just love her. I can't wait for her to come back on the show in a year. I can't wait to see her on Netflix. Don't you see that? I totally see that. Lately, I've been doing a new habit. If you've been listening to every episode, you will have noticed that if you stay all the way to the end, you get a bonus. I just feel really called to pray for you, to pray for every listener. So if you are someone who is open to receiving prayer, then stick with me for the next minute. I'd like to pray for you. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for 2025. It's brought us so many wins, new friends, wonderful experiences. And, the good always comes with the bad. But I think when we look at all the good you've given us, we will see that it far outweighs the bad. And even in the bad, you are turning bad to good, that the things in our life that have been difficult for us, you have transformed. You have helped us grow strong and cultivate resilience from these experiences. So I pray that you help us to gain all the learnings from all of 2025, and to gain all the learnings to then implement them as new skills, as new healthy habits into 2026. And God, I pray that you strengthen our spirit, you strengthen us, because the flesh is weak, and we have big hearts. We have a strong minds, but the flesh is weak. And so I pray, Lord, that you give us strength so that we can overcome. We can overcome the things that that our weak flesh has made it difficult to overcome. So some people are overcoming addiction, and addiction shows up in many different ways. It can be alcohol, it can be sugar, it can be TV, right? There's all kinds of things we could be addicted to. But if it's something that's controlling us in a bad way and we want to release it, Lord, we release it to you, and we ask that you fill us with your strength. I also pray, God, that you give us signs, that you show up. You show up all the time in our life, and I pray that we see it, that we hear you. Draw close to us, and let us acknowledge and that we hear you, that we feel you, that we see you. I see you in every sunset. I see you in the beautiful things that surprise me in nature. And I see you, in the smiles of people as I pass them. I look for you everywhere, God. And I want you to show up in ways in our lives that surprise us. You bring us beautiful gifts, and the biggest gift of all is the gift of your friendship. So thank you, God, for your friendship. Thank you for your son, and thank you for your grace. May you continue to bless us through all of 2026 and beyond. Amen.